Part 55. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 541. The fake explosives were replaced with real gunpowder, and Sci-fucking was at the center of the explosion again, and she would have to shed a layer of skin even if she didn't die. But just listening to those roars just now, you can know how powerful this explosion is. Sci-fucking must be dead. How can I argue with her now? Tong Lu Yun's brows were filled with joy unconsciously, and she said, sang. Snapped. A slap hit her face, and Tong Lu Yun fell to the ground. Sang Yanking's eyes were red. Shut your mouth. As she ran into the valley, she dialed the emergency contact number, her voice trembling. Hey, is this Mr. Shen Ying? She stabilized her tone before continuing. We encountered an explosion. The road was cut off and we couldn't find where Ching was. After hearing Sang Yanking describe the scene, Shen Ying's expression changed drastically. He suddenly raised his head and looked at Yu Ziyan. The fake gunpowder used by Miss Si for filming was replaced with real ones. Many people on the crew were injured, and the cause of the explosion is still unknown. Yu Ziyan's hand paused, and the breath around him sank. Where's Ling? The nearest manpower has been contacted, Shen Ying said quickly. Mr. Huo is in Anken, close to the crew. He went there with Miss C's assistant. It is estimated that T-18 will be there soon. Yu Ziyan closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, there was only strong anger and murderous intent in her eyes. Let's go. On the other side, the Yu family. Miss Ziyi, it's better to see her than to hear her for a long time. Mr. Yu shook hands with the woman with respect. Please sit down for a moment. I will call Shi Yan back right now. Feng Ziyi nodded. She sat down on the sofa and looked at the Yu family's hall curiously. Mr. Yu first called Yu Ziyan, but unexpectedly he didn't get through. So he contacted the secret guards he sent out and asked them to take Yu Ziyan back to the Yu family immediately. The secret guards followed the order and left, but after they rushed into the villa, there was no one inside. The tea on the table was still warm, and it was obvious that the owner had just left. But they searched the entire villa and found no one. He's gone, Mr. Yu was furious. Didn't I let you watch? Miss Ziyi has already arrived. How can I explain to the Feng family when he is gone? The secret guards were also confused. They had obviously been secretly watching Yu Ziyan's private villa without letting go of a fly. No one came out of the villa at all today. Mr. Yu roared, then why don't you look for it quickly? Go to the airport to look for it? The secret guards had to split up to look for them. Ms. Feng didn't hear the specific content of the phone call, but she understood what happened from Mr. Yu's words. She suppressed a smile and her expression calmed down. In that case, let's forget it for today. Seeing her attitude, Mr. Yu became anxious and said hurriedly, Ms. Feng, we. Jingle bell. The ringing of his cell phone interrupted his next words. Feng Ziyi smiled apologetically at Mr. Yu and answered the phone. Hello. She didn't know what was said over there, but after hearing it, her expression changed slightly. Yes, sir, I'm in Daxia. Okay, I'll rush over right away. Ms. Feng frowned. Ziyi, what's wrong? There was an emergency case in Bizhu. It was very bad. The headquarters asked me to go over and take a look. Feng Ziyi hurriedly picked up his bag. Mom, Dad, I'm leaving first. If anything happens, we'll talk about it later. Hey, before Ms. Feng could say anything, Feng Ziyi had already walked out of the door and quickly disappeared from sight. This child, Ms. Feng was angry and anxious. T-18 is too much. Ziyi is obviously on vacation, but she still needs to be informed to do this and that. This is her only dissatisfaction with T-18. But there is no way. Once you join T-18, you must obey orders, otherwise it will cause a big disaster, not just being dismissed. Miss Ziyi is excellent. Those who are capable work hard, MRSU said with a smile. This is something that many people dream of. Yes, MRS Feng took a sip of tea and moved gracefully. Ziyi happens to have something to do, so let's wait until next time for them to meet. She doesn't have much interest in Yu Ziyan. But since Feng Ziyi likes Yu Ziyan's face, then let Yu Ziyan marry into the Feng family and make a vase. Hashtag Genkuo female general filming accident. Hashtag explode. Hashtag SI fucking. Hashtag news of the explosion has become a hot topic, and the internet is in chaos. Is Ching Ching okay? Please be safe, please. I am in Bizhu, not far from the crew. The explosion is very powerful. SI fucking is filming in the center, so it may be more dangerous than bad. Hiss, I never believed what my grandpa said about Daxia Dragon Vein being passive. As a result, this year has been full of disasters. You have to believe it even if you don't believe it. Dragon veins. Wait, is that the mountain in front of my house? The explosions continued for an hour and almost half the valley was leveled. The valley was filled with black smoke and the smell of gunpowder was everywhere. In the darkness, SI fucking was walking slowly forward with a young actor on his back. She is an evolved person, and the black smoke cannot block her sight. She can still see clearly. There are explosives over there, go this way. The other actors hurriedly followed, not daring to fall behind. At this time, SI fucking was their only refuge. SI fucking held a mobile phone in one free hand. The mobile phone had no signal and could not even make emergency calls. She sighed, not because she couldn't get out, but because she couldn't contact Yu Ziyan in time. She was just afraid that he would scold her again after she went out. In this world, besides cooking, this is the second thing that gives her a lot of headaches. SI fucking continued to move forward and began to seriously consider the possibility of evading Yu Ziyan's reprimand by acting coquettishly. Outside the valley, Director Liu and others who were luckily not within the explosion range were not injured, but everyone was in a hurry. They couldn't get in and had no idea what was going on inside. Sang Yanking tried to rush in several times, but was held down by others. The cause of the explosion is unknown, and going in without a clear investigation will only increase the number of casualties. While everyone was waiting anxiously, the sound of a helicopter sounded. The hatch opened, the ladder was lowered, and someone jumped from the ladder above. I'm Feng Ziyi, the T-18 investigator. Feng Ziyi took out his ID. It's not safe here. You go back to the city first. From now on, this incident will be under our control, T-18. Director Liu's expression brightened. T-18. With T-18 here, things will indeed be much easier. Yes, you guys should leave now, Feng Ziyi said lightly. Don't hinder us from doing things. Several investigators immediately left with one member of the crew. Feng Ziyi took the others in. Ziyi, the headquarters sent information that it was a group of mercenaries who did it. A young man said, they were hired by a criminal gang and came here to find something. Feng Ziyi nodded, let's lay an ambush and act according to the opportunity. They soon arrived at the center of the explosion. The black smoke dissipated and the place was deserted. There was a group of people not far away, holding metal detectors in their hands and detecting something. They were the mercenaries mentioned in the intelligence. Feng Ziyi frowned and signaled the others to hide and prepare to attack when these mercenaries came over. At this moment, the young man suddenly said, Ziyi, Ling's person. Feng Ziyi raised his head and saw a man not far away from the north walking towards the location of the mercenaries. He didn't hide, he just wore a mask. Feng Ziyi suppressed his anger and shouted, what are you going to do? Do you want to push them? Can you wait for a while before taking action? We were already going to catch them all. Do you have all of them? What's wrong? Zero's style has always been calmer than T-18's, why is he so impulsive this time? It's just a transnational criminal gang. They can arrest more than a dozen such criminal gangs a year, So why bother to use the most laborious methods to arrest them? To alert the enemy will consume a lot of manpower and material resources. Who did Zero send this time? Do you understand the rules or not? Feng Ziyi took a few steps forward, trying to pull the man back, but couldn't keep up with his speed at all, and his hand came up empty. Her expression changed, and before she could say anything, the mercenaries had already discovered the ambush here, started a round of strafing, and triggered a new explosion. Fortunately, they were all very skilled and survived the attack, but they were still in a state of utter confusion. It's all him. Feng Ziyi was very angry. She said coldly, "Let's retreat and see what he will do alone." The young man frowned and was about to speak when his expression suddenly turned horrified. "Ziyi, look." Feng Ziyi looked over impatiently, and his eyes suddenly solidified. She didn't see how the masked man moved his hands, she only saw the mercenary lying on the ground. The young man turned pale with shock. Is he Zero's chief? Only Chief Zero has such a terrifying force value. Feng Ziyi's pupils shrank suddenly. Zero's chief. She stared at the man closely, but could only see his back. My ears were filled with the screams of the mercenaries. Do you know about the revenge organization? Looking at Yu Xian's approaching figure, the mercenary leader's eyes finally became frightened. You dare to touch us? The revenge organization will not let you go. The revenge organization they rely on the most behind them is also the revenge organization that allows them to look for some ores here. But this time, he also took on another task, killing the number one in this year's international joint examination. So they bribed several staff members from the Genkuo female general crew and replaced the props and explosives with new ones. These mercenaries are not evolvers, but they have been dealing with evolvers for many years and know that evolvers have the absolute power to suppress ordinary people. No matter how strong this man is, he will never be a match for the revenge organization. Yu Xian didn't speak, he just shook hands gently. The air current surged at this moment, and a strong wind swept over the ground. Boom! There was an explosion, and the ground beneath the mercenaries' feet exploded, followed by another heart-rending scream. There was silence between heaven and earth. Feng Ziyi's eyes completely solidified. Yu Xian lowered his head and looked at the mercenary vomiting blood at his feet. "Tell me, do I dare? Give your majesty a ticket ovo. See you tomorrow." After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 542. The sound of the wind seemed to be still at this moment. Yu Xian didn't look at these mercenaries. He clicked on the headset and said in a calm voice, "Come here and take care of them." He let go of his hand, and the mercenary fell from his hand. A group of mercenaries were like ants shaking a tree in his hands. Not even the corners of his clothes were stained with any dust. Feng Ziyi was still stunned on the spot, his scalp was numb and his fingertips were electrified. She had never seen such a powerful man. She has accumulated a lot of achievements in the past few years since entering T18, but she still does not have the right to meet those high-level officials. She hears names like the T18 Big Three and the Night Witch every day, and her ears get calluses. According to the old man, it is precisely because of these three giants that T18 is able to maintain a stable position in the intelligence community. Of course there is Zero, otherwise it will not be able to compete with T18. Feng Ziyi, probably not the chief of Zero, but definitely a high-ranking person. The young man thought for a moment and smiled. That's right. Zero's chief seems to have appeared once. How could he come to a place like this? T18 speculates that the chief of Zero must also be from Free Continent, with high power and status. This place is very far away from Free Continent, so they all mobilize their manpower nearby. Feng Ziyi pursed his lips. "You guys wait here, I'll go over and take a look." The young man was stunned. "Ziyi, you." Feng Ziyi's footsteps paused, and she looked straight ahead. The black smoke dissipated and a dozen people appeared. There was a girl at the front. She handed the little actor on her back to Zero's investigator and stepped forward herself. Brother Ninth, I fucking waved to Uzion and ran to him, briskly, I'm here. Uzion looked at her for 3 seconds and said, you. Wait a minute, I fucking called out in time, I have something to say. Even though he was on the verge of bursting into anger, he could still speak calmly. You said. I'm not injured, so I fucking asked tentatively, can I avoid your reprimand by acting like a baby? As if he didn't expect her to say such words, Uzion paused for a moment, feeling a little amused, and hummed, try. Brother Ninth, you can't blame me for this. I just wanted to finish filming as soon as possible. I fucking blinked and clasped his hands together. I really didn't expect that there would be problems with the explosives. Please don't be angry, okay? Uzion looked down at him, is this your coquettishness? What's wrong? I fucking bent down, grabbed the grass on the ground and hit him. This is how I act like a spoiled brat for my sister. My sister suddenly stopped being angry. Are you mocking me for not being able to act like a spoiled brat? Why are you asking like this? Many. Uzion was silent for a moment and sighed softly, then she really loves you. I fucking raised a finger and blinked with fox eyes, Brother Ninth, you can also pamper me very much. In this way, you will be as good to me as my sister. All I need is that you don't scold me. Yes, finally, under her coquettishness, he suppressed all his emotions and stretched out his hand towards her, come here. Seeing that she didn't move, he simply stepped forward, grabbed her wrist, and put her directly on his back with force. I fucking lay on his back, feeling the majestic power hidden under his clothes, which could not be underestimated when it exploded. She stretched out her hand and poked his back, Brother Jew, you have a really good figure and the muscles on your back are so good. Uzion's back tensed for a moment, and his voice became deeper, stop moving. Oh I fucking responded, and as expected, she was obedient and didn't poke him again. Brother Ninth, are you a senior member of Zero? Yeah, Uzion looked unmoved. What's wrong? I fucking said lazily, it's nothing. If you ask, you will have already guessed it. He carried her away. The remaining actors also successfully escaped from the dangerous scene under the leadership of Zero. Ziyi. Ziyi. Feng Ziyi suddenly came back to his senses. What's wrong? People have gone far. The young man was half helpless and half confused. What are you looking at? No. It's nothing. Feng Ziyi realized that she had lost her composure, and she said calmly, I'm just curious about how Zero's senior management could interact with the stars of the crew. Everyone loves beauty, the young man said. I also like her looks. Feng Ziyi frowned. Beauty. She thought back to the girl whose face was covered with gray, and thought nonchalantly that she didn't see much of it. The other side. Huo Yangxing and Yu Jian were looking for other explosives that had not yet been detonated. The phone rang and Huo Yangxing picked it up. Okay, I understand. He hung up the phone and said to Yu Jian, the person has been found, and the person on the other side is gone. We just need to finish disposing of the explosives. Yu Jian paused for a moment, with a complicated expression. That's it? When did Zero's style become so violent? This is simply to compete with them for jobs. Although she is a spiritual evolver, she can clearly feel the specific location and level of other evolvers, and can also contact other evolvers remotely. But I fucking can't do it. She couldn't get into the little junior sister's brainwaves. But an explosion of this magnitude would not cause much harm to I fucking. They had gone on many missions, so they still had some trust. Huo Yangxing suddenly said, the people sent by UT-18 this time are not good. Remember to train well when you go back. For incidents involving evolvers, it is better not to let ordinary people come. Yu Jian glanced at him and didn't respond. Instead, he took out his mobile phone and contacted T-18 headquarters. The other party was nervous and scared. "Sir, who is responsible for leading the team for the North State bombing?" "Let me check. He is a third-level investigator of the Daxia branch. Study the code of conduct carefully, suspend 3 missions, and wait until you have learned it before going on missions." "Yes, sir," the other party agreed happily. It is really rare that the chief did not bully them this time. Although the explosion was earth-shattering, it was all directed at Sci-fucking. She protected several actors who were following her, so it did not cause too many casualties. Those who were slightly injured in the aftermath of the explosion were also sent to the hospital, and filming was suspended. Seeing that Sci-fucking was okay, but looking a little disgraced, he breathed a sigh of relief and felt relieved. It's just good that teacher Si is not injured. We are not in a hurry when filming. Life is the first priority. Money is everything, no. Sci-fucking wiped his face. "Don't worry, we didn't pay for it, someone else did. Those mercenaries had a lot of money, and Yu Zion had already given it all to her." Yu Jian quietly appeared behind her and said in a voice that only 2 people could hear, "Little junior sister, after 2 lifetimes, you can't escape the revenge organization's hunting list." Revenge organizations only appeared in this century. In addition to the defection of elders from the Intercontinental Institute, teachers from the Eternal Academy, and even several supercriminals permanently imprisoned by the Holy Light Judgment. When these people gather together, they are extremely threatening. The geniuses of the 3 major evolutionary families, the students of the Intercontinental Research Institute and the Eternal Academy are all on their hunting list, and many of them have been brutally murdered. It's just that the revenge organization is very mysterious, and Zero and T-18 have not found their headquarters yet. Sci-fucking squeezed his shoulders and hummed lightly, "They think highly of me." She controlled the score, which was only above average in Free Continent, and she was actually targeted by the revenge organization. In other words, the revenge organization has become more and more arrogant during this time. But it's understandable, after all, she is currently the best person on the list to attack. It's a pity that the revenge organization still didn't think well enough and could only find out superficial information about her. If the revenge organization knew that she was an evolved person, it would not be just a team of ordinary mercenaries that could deal with her. "Third senior sister, what do you think about me kidnapping my financial sponsor to come to our T-18? Sci-fucking thought seriously, he is good in all aspects." Tsukimi crossed his arms and raised his eyebrows. "Do you want to piss off Zero's chief?" "I just want to piss him off to death," Sci-fucking snorted. "I remember him very clearly when he robbed me, and I will never forget it in my life." "Then you give it a try," Yu-Jian agreed. "It's up to you. If you can snatch Zero's capable man, the second brother will definitely be very happy." Sci-fucking was a little confused. "What strategy should I use?" Yu-Jian said casually, "It's a beauty trap." Sci-fucking thought deeply and felt that this method was feasible. "It works well if I act coquettishly on him. I'll try it later." Yu-Jian also began to think about whether she should also bring Huo Yangxing to T-18. Losing 2 generals at once, will Zero's chief be so angry that he vomits blood? "Teacher Si," at this time, the assistant ran in a panic. "Teacher Si, we have refuted the rumor, but there are still marketing accounts on the internet saying that you are dead, and there are photos." "I don't know who posted the pictures, Sister Sang. I have contacted the legal department to file a complaint." "Am I dead?" Sci-fucking narrowed his fox eyes. "Huh? Who said that?" "It's Tong Luyuan," the assistant said angrily. "It's only been 1 day. Not only did she say you were dead, she also went to the music director and asked her to make the movie. Even if Sci-fucking chooses to quit the entertainment industry, people with insufficient abilities will not be able to get the resources that belong to her. Therefore, after Yun Lan retired from the industry, Chu Lingyun preferred to remain silent for many years and not make movies." Tsukimi only found it unbelievable. She is so hard to think about. Is her brain broken? During the time she was with Sci-fucking, she got to know all kinds of people in the entertainment industry, and the stories were richer than the information she collected at T18. Her Sci-fucking nodded and said lightly, "Since you can't think about it, then stop thinking about it and think about it later when you go in." The assistant was stunned. Sci-fucking opened her phone and entered a program. In just a few seconds, all the comments and pictures about her death disappeared from the internet. It was replaced by Tong Lu-yun's name. Hashtag Tong Lu-yun, suppress newcomers hashtag. Hashtag Tong Lu-yun, white-eyed wolf hashtag. Hashtag Tong Lu-yun, mistress intervenes hashtag. Hashtag Tong Lu-yun, tax evasion hashtag. All the dirty information that Tong Lu-yun spent a lot of money to suppress over the years has been exposed. Weibo instantly collapsed. Your Majesty is either on the way to the Chui Wife crematorium or in the Chui Wife crematorium. A long time ago, when I was a child. Sci-fucking, I got into trouble again today. How can I avoid being punished by my sister by being coquettish? Ye Tuanlin. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 543. Tong Lu-yun's popularity was not high enough to crash the Weibo system. However, all the black materials are gathered together, and the bombing is extremely strong. The programmer who was on vacation scolded Tong Lu-yun like a dog while making urgent repairs. After the refresh, the top 10 most popular searches on the entertainment list are all Tong Lu-yun's name. Each one is a piece of black material, completely without repetition. Netizens just feel that they are like the yin in the melon field, and they don't know which one to eat first. My dear, this black material can dye the dongling sea black. Thank you to all the entertainment reporters. I didn't release these melons before my postgraduate entrance examination, otherwise I would not have the heart to take the exam. Let's count how many stars have fallen since Sci-fucking started serious business. Sure enough, it's a member of the discipline committee. Trembling, am I the only supercomputer expert who thinks Tong Lu-yun is provoking? Is this what people do? After the value of business fashion has collapsed, Tong Lu-yun has panicked to the extreme. So after she decided that Sci-fucking could not be alive, she immediately took a series of actions to go to the hospital for sudden illness. Even though she knew she was doing something stupid, she had no better way. Tong Lu-yun thought that even if she could not return to the altar, Sci-fucking would only end up worse than her, and she felt balanced. Until now, she watched her hot search one by one, and there was no anger, only endless fear. Who did it? Tong Lu-yun couldn't believe it. She murmured, "Impossible, it's impossible. None of these black materials are fake, and even the old things she did 10 years ago were picked up. But the entertainment industry has always been a big dye vat. Who can get out of the mud without being dyed?" Tong Lu-yun didn't think that what she did was a big deal, but now that it was all revealed, it was a fatal blow to her. The hot search can't be removed at all, and the matter is so turbulent that even Tong Lu-yun's gold owner can't sit still. The gold master quickly took a series of actions and broke off the relationship with Tong Lu-yun. "Mr. Mo," Tong Lu-yun's fingers trembled, begging him on the phone, "Mr. Mo, you must have a way. You can help me remove the hot search. The memory of netizens is very short. I will be silent for a while. Next year we'll be able to." "Shut up. Do you still think this is just a matter of the entertainment industry?" Mr. Mo laughed angrily. "Do you know that this matter has attracted the attention of major families at home and abroad? They are all rushing to block you. In order to make friends with Sci-fucking, do you think you still have room to continue to be in the entertainment industry? Have you forgotten that Sci-fucking is not only a star, but also the #1 in the international entrance examination? has a very high value on it. Mr. Mo only thought Tong Lu-yun was ridiculously stupid. If SI fucking is just a star, of course there are many ways to reconcile this matter, but she is not. Tong Lu-yun's brain buzzed, her ears were deaf for a moment, as if 10,000 bees were circling, and she couldn't hear any sound. Major families at home and abroad are rushing to block her, just to please SI fucking? Go away. I have nothing to do with you. Mr. Mo hung up the phone and stopped giving Tong Lu-yun a chance to speak. Tong Lu-yun was paralyzed on the ground, a fine layer of cold sweat broke out on her back. Even Mr. Mo gave up on her, and now she is completely finished. Tong Lu-yun looked at the social account that had been banned, and she still hadn't figured out who was standing behind SI fucking, yet she was able to reveal all her hacks at the snap of her fingers. Not to mention other black materials, just tax evasion, and tax evasion is enough for Tong Lu-yun to disappear completely in the entertainment industry. It can only be said that when Tong Lu-yun was famous, the internet was not developed, allowing her to hide until now. To be honest, Tong Lu-yun's drama is very good and her acting skills are good, but her character is too bad, and she is good at blocking. In the early years, Tong Lu-yun's works were really aura. After Sang Yanking retired, she went downhill. I didn't expect that she would bite Sang Yanking back. She was really a white-eyed wolf. The earth will continue to turn when it leaves everyone. Tong Lu-yun disappeared instantly after a Grand Slam movie. Netizens just sighed for a while, then turned to worship the koi under SI fucking Swibo. During the rare holiday, SI fucking lay in the yard outside the hospital, rubbed Xiaobai's stomach with one hand, and muttered, "God Pixiu, tell me about you. I have fed you gold for a year, you at least. I also ate dozens of tons. What are you doing?" Xiaobai licked her palm aggrievedly and wagged his tail. SI fucking sighed, "Fortunately, we have a big money owner, otherwise we have to drink the northwest wind." Xiaobai's eyes lit up, and suddenly he screamed. "You still want to go directly into the gold mine to eat?" SI fucking slapped it on the head, "Don't even think about it, Niu." Xiaobai snorted, turned over and lazily basked in the sun. It has already made a decision in his heart. If the big gold owner wants to bring the dog owner home, then the way to pass it is to give it an endless gold mine. Wonderful. "Miss SI, Feng San rushed over. "Miss SI, someone from the Intercontinental Research Institute is here to find you." Huh, SI fucking narrowed his eyes and stood up. "Miss SI, hello." A middle-aged man in a white research suit stepped forward and apologized. "I am a member of the board of directors of the Intercontinental Research Institute, and I am in charge of the B-level staff. This time you are surprised, too. We ill-considered and did not arrange personnel to protect you, and hereby apologize to you." "Hello, you're welcome." SI fucking nodded slightly. "You don't have to blame yourself for this matter. Zero found me in time, and I wasn't injured." In addition to the old dean of the Mechanical Academy, she can be said to have no trust in the Intercontinental Research Institute, and naturally she will not take the initiative to reveal any information. The middle-aged man nodded with a serious expression. "That's right, the Intercontinental Research Institute will send a team to protect Miss C's safety, and ask Miss SI to inform her of the permanent location so that we can deploy staff." "No need." SI fucking still refused. "Zero and T18 have arranged for someone to protect me, I trust them." The middle-aged man also knows the strength of Zero he T18, and he has some regrets. "Okay, since Miss SI insists on doing this, we will not force Miss SI, but we still hope that Miss SI can come directly to the Intercontinental Research Institute. The Research Institute is the best safe place." SI fucking smiled and said nothing. At the peak of her strength, the laboratory was manipulated by others. Safety. It also deceives people who don't know. The struggle in the Intercontinental Institute does not have to be less than the Eternal Institute. At most, the evolutionary people are just rough fights, and the Research Institute is constantly tricking. SI fucking had no plans to go back. The middle-aged man gushed about the strength of the Intercontinental Research Institute again. Seeing that Sci-fucking was still unmoved, he could only leave. He looked at the girl with salted fish lying on the grass and shook his head. The first place in the international entrance examination does not cherish the opportunity so much, and in this life, he can only be a B-level person. The bombing involved a revenge group and was not something the division investigator could handle. And because of the inappropriate handling of things, Feng Ziyi was temporarily suspended from work and took an extra vacation, but she was not in a good mood. Mrs. Feng was very happy, and specially invited the state banquet chef from Sijukan to replenish Feng Ziyi's body. Feng Ziyi pursed his lower lip. "Mom, forget about the marriage with the Yu family." Mrs. Feng was a little surprised, but she was more relieved. "You finally figured it out. The other party obviously didn't take you to heart, otherwise it would be impossible to let you dove." Feng Ziyi did not speak. She had only seen pictures of Yu Ziyan, and she really liked that face. She had never had any feelings for the opposite sex, and the men in the team were not as strong as her. It was not until the appearance of that man that Feng Ziyi knew what it meant to be strong, and her heart moved uncontrollably. What made Feng Ziyi a little upset was that the man seemed to belong. She rubbed the cup with her fingers, her eyes moving slightly. "Since you said that, I'll tell the Yu family now." Mrs. Feng took out her mobile phone and contacted Mr. Yu. The cancellation of the engagement by the Feng family caught Mr. Yu off guard, and he could not attack the Feng family, so he could only transfer all his anger to Yu Ziyan. After using the seventh number, Mr. Yu finally called Yu Ziyan's Nianhua. "Where have you been? Do you know that Miss Ziyi chose to cancel the marriage without seeing you? Where can I find it for you? Someone better than Miss Ziyi." At the end, the old man Yu became more and more angry. "Did you hear? You are disabled and can't walk your legs. If it wasn't for the Yu family to support you, you..." "Master Yu, right," a voice suddenly sounded over there, but it was a female voice. "You don't need to worry about it, Brother Ninth is in good health and has a good personality. There are many people rushing for it. He decides his marriage matters by himself. Even if he is really down, I can support him. I don't need your Yu family. When he still treats you as human, you also pretend to be a little bit like, and don't make trouble for him, understand?" With one output, Mr. Yu was scolded and dumbfounded. Sci-fucking didn't give him a chance to refute, just hung up the phone and blocked in one go. "Why do you answer this kind of phone call? You are not allowed to answer it in the future." She frowned. "You are still listening to this long mess that belittles you." Yu Ziyan was not angry, but raised her eyebrows. "You're very angry." "Of course you're angry." Sci-fucking looked at him. "Aren't you angry?" Yu Ziyan closed her eyes. "Well, I'm very happy." Sci-fucking, if your brain is broken, tell me generously, I can cure it." Yu Ziyan raised his eyes and propped his elbows. "Can you cure anything?" "Of course." Sci-fucking snapped his fingers. "If I can't cure it, I'll take you to my master." Yu Ziyan lowered her eyelashes and laughed softly. "You can cure it?" His eyes were steady and strong, with a slight smile. Sci-fucking was unconsciously bewitched by his sight, and met his eyes. Thump, thump, thump. My heart beat faster than ever at this moment. Off topic. It's another day when His Majesty's routines are pouring out square root. Thank you all for your support. See you tomorrow. When Chiuying Huang published the manuscript, I found a serious problem. I suddenly found that the pit of the shopping website star was not filled, and I was a little sad. From the name, it can be seen that it has something to do with the Sage Star. She opened it, but it seems that there is no what a big impact. 3. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 544. She looked up at him, and time seemed to travel back 1,000 years at this moment. He bent down slightly, his eyes were level with her, and asked in a low voice, What's wrong? He was closer to her at this moment, and she could even count his eyelashes. A big man with dense and long eyelashes. Si fucking stared at him, and his voice stopped for the first time. Ninth brother, my heart is beating so fast. Uzion didn't expect her to be so straightforward, and hit him with a straight ball. He was silent for a moment, then what? But Si fucking stood up abruptly. I'm going to see how the rest of the crew are doing, and I'll go to the cardiopulmonary department. Ziobai watched helplessly as his master disappeared like a fly. It licked its paws, its eyes faint. The ghost hand and heavenly doctor go to the cardiopulmonary department. This is the degree to be ridiculed for a year. Uzion sighed. Sure enough, her psychological defense is extremely strong. Huo Yangxing walked out from behind the rockery and said lightly, it seems that your progress is not very good. Uzion closed her eyes. Well, it's not as good as you, your body is progressing quickly. Huo Yangxing. He gritted his teeth, can you stop mentioning this? It was him who was asleep. Uzion's tone was indifferent, emotionally progress is negative. Huo Yangxing was expressionless, turned around and left, leaving the hospital. Yu Jian came in with 2 cups of milk tea. Huo Yangxing frowned. He was thinking about how to ask Hu Ejian to have a cup of afternoon tea. Before he could speak, he was robbed by the other party. Sir, are you interested in joining T18? Yu Jian shoved a cup of milk tea into his hand. T18 staff benefits are very good, we have paid vacations, and the pressure is not zero. Sir, you are so talented, you can change jobs. I promise I want the chief to recommend you to become the 4th giant. Huo Yangxing, it can be considered. There is no difference between the goals of T18 and Zero, both dealing with emergencies around the globe. He just hung up an idle job at T18, and it's the same everywhere. Then please think about it carefully. Yu Jian put his hands together. Please, this is my rare request. Huo Yangxing's voice was faster than his thoughts. Okay. He agreed too quickly, but Yu Jian was surprised, but she didn't talk nonsense, she directly took out a contract. Sir, sign it. Huo Yangxing signed. Yu Jian folded the document with a smile. Thanks, sir. Her task has been completed, it's up to the little junior sister. Yu Jian brought another cup of milk tea and went to find Si fucking. Looking at Yu Jian, who didn't say a word to him anymore, Huo Yangxing said. He gritted his teeth, he was definitely bewitched by his mind to agree to what this scumbag said. When Yu Jian found Si fucking was squatting in front of a tree, shrinking himself into a small ball. Yu Jian was a little confused. Xiaoju, what are you doing? Si Fu shrank even tighter, and after more than 10 seconds, she said quietly, Third senior sister, I may not be worthy of being an intelligence worker. Oh, Yu Jian was very interested, how do you say it? Si fucking's voice was muffled, I was tempted by the goal of the mission, and I lacked concentration. Yu Jian raised his eyebrows, what's the matter? Your big money master is also a rare beauty in the world. You can hold on for so long, I've been surprised by senior sister. Si fucking thought about it for a while, and asked humbly, if I only picture his face, am I not as scumbag as you? Tsukishima. For the first time, she was speechless. Stop pretending to be a guinea pig. Yu Jian pulled Si fucking up, maybe you're drawing other people while drawing his face? You can try it first, and then run away. Si fucking was silent for a moment, then sincerely praised, Third senior sister, you are a senior sea king. She wants to ask the third sister for more advice. I have already brought Huo Yangxing to our T18. Yu Jian hugged his arms, little junior sister, you are the one to win over your financial master. Miss Si, not far away, Feng San shouted towards him, it's noon, brother Ju has ordered a meal, come and eat. Si fucking just got up, patted the weeds on his body, and went to the pavilion by the lake. She quietly glanced at the man in the wheelchair. The sun fell on his face, half bright and half bright. His eyebrows were very good looking, but his temperament overwhelmed his appearance. Feeling her gaze, Yu Zion turned her head and looked at her. Are you shy? Si fucking turned his head away. No, you did it on purpose. Sorry. Yu Zion smiled calmly. Eat. Si fucking pinched the chopsticks and began to seriously think about how she should try. Tang Tang applied to be an exchange student at Eterna University. Yu Zion said, as her guardian, I am going to Xia University to go through the formalities for her. He rubbed her head. Wait for me to come back, okay? Si fucking scratched at the hair he had just rubbed, and replied in a low voice, go, I'll go back to Yin's house to see uncle. Yu Zion glanced at Huo Yangxing. Huo Yangxing understood. He had nothing to do, and originally planned to follow Yu Jian, so he also stopped by Yin's house. As for joining T18, he didn't think it was a big deal, and he didn't plan to tell Yu Zion. 9 cities. Mrs. Feng was choosing clothes for Feng Ziyi, but Feng Ziyi was absent-minded and kept looking at her phone, her brows furrowed, as if waiting for something. Ziyi, what's the matter with you these 2 days? Madame Feng groaned. It's not normal for your mission to be preempted by zero. It has nothing to do with you. You take a good vacation, and then go back to take the mission after you have rested. Mom, what do you think? Feng Ziyi tapped a photo with her finger. How do I compare to her? Mrs. Feng looked at the photo suspiciously. Who is this? A top-notch female. She is still the god of Oracle. Feng Ziyi pursed her lower lip. This year, the National College Entrance Examination is the first, and the International Joint Entrance Examination is also the first. Mrs. Feng doesn't pay attention to the entertainment industry, but she also knows the gold content of the International Entrance Examination. She is surprised. Are all the stars so powerful? Feng Ziyi became even more irritable. Mom. Mrs. Feng hurriedly said, of course, Ziyi, you are stronger. You entered T18 at a young age, and you are very skilled. She is a nerd and can't compare to you. Feng Ziyi then slowly let out a breath. Good. Si fucking is indeed excellent, but he does not have any common language with the top management of Zero. It's not like she can go out on a mission, and Si fucking can only be rescued. If she can pull the top of Zero into T18, the executives will treat her differently. As long as they weren't married, she had a chance. Feng Ziyi made up his mind. Hello, Mrs. Feng answered the phone. Is the first elder here? In the Qinjun League? Well, Zhao Yi and I are also there. When the first elder is done, we will definitely go to see you. At the end of the call, Mrs. Feng said, Ziyi, I'm going to Qinjunmen in a while. Remember to go to the ancestral hall to worship His Majesty Emperor Yin, and I'll go buy something. Feng Ziyi didn't have any special feelings about this, he just responded lightly. She does admire Emperor Yin very much, but the characters in history are different from those in front of her. Shi Muqiang, in her opinion, only that man is worthy of her pursuit. The door was knocked at this moment. Feng Ziyi opened the door. It's Mr. Yu. Mr. Yu still wanted to marry the Feng family. He went to the door in person and apologized repeatedly. Miss Ziyi, I'm really sorry, Shi Yan is ignorant, don't worry, next time, this marriage. Feng Ziyi looked at him and said lightly, it's not because he let me doves, it's because I have someone I like more, and I don't like him anymore. There was no room for these words, and the old man Yu was stunned. Miss Ziyi. Feng Ziyi didn't want to say another word, and closed the door directly. The old man Yu was angry and anxious. Just when he didn't know what to do, he received news from the Dark Guard. The news said that Yu Zion returned to Sijukan, arrived at the private villa, took some things and left, and is now at the gate of Xia. Mr. Yu didn't have time to think about it, and went to Xia University without stopping. He didn't have to look carefully, and saw the man in the wheelchair at a glance. Yu Xian, Mr. Yu strode forward, go and apologize to Miss Ziyi now. His voice was not low, and some people around looked over, surprised and puzzled. Yu Xian didn't raise her head, she just said, Feng San. Feng San immediately stepped forward and grabbed old Master Yu's shoulder, not even letting him get close to Yu Xian. His movements were also very fast, until the dark guard brought by Mr. Yu didn't respond. The old man Yu took a deep breath, Yu. Mr. Yu, at this moment, a voice said in surprise, Mr. Yu is actually in 49 City. Last time Mr. Yu helped Qingyao, I haven't thanked Mr. Yu well. Yu Xian turned around and saw Xiao Wen admonishing, Member Xiao, don't be polite. It's just noon, and the Qinjun League has prepared lunch. Xiao Wenjian said, if Mr. Yu doesn't dislike it, let's come together. Yu Xian smiled slightly, it is better to be respectful than to obey. From the beginning to the end, Xiao Wenjian did not notice that there was Mr. Yu, and happily greeted Yu Xian and left. Mr. Yu stood on the spot, unable to react at all. After all, the Yu family is also the #1 wealthy family in the 49 cities. Unlike other families, he has at least met Xiao Wenjian himself, and knows that Xiao Wenjian is the leader of the Thousand Army Alliance. But how could Xiao Wenjian and Yu Xian? The old man Yu was in a mess, and suddenly a sharp pain came from his body. It was Feng San who let go. He snorted coldly, hurry up. What? Here. Yu Xian followed Xiao Wenjian to the Qinjun League, but he just made an excuse to get out, and didn't really plan to go in. If there is something else, I won't go in. Okay, Xiao Wenjian nodded, but didn't force it. If Mr. Yu has any difficulties, feel free to mention it to the Qinjun Alliance. Yu Xian nodded slightly and was about to leave. It was at this time, in the martial arts room, that the elder Feng family was checking the dragon sparrow sword, but suddenly, the dragon sparrow sword, which was sealed by the scabbard, shook. Buzz. Very violent. The first elder of the Feng family was also a martial artist, but his feet staggered at this moment, and was directly bounced off by the dragon sparrow sword. What's the situation? Whoosh. The dragon sparrow sword came out of its sheath and flew straight in one direction. Off topic. His Majesty, who has always been so careful that he even changed his handwriting, was exposed for the second time by his sword, smiley face. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 545. Boom. The speed of the dragon sparrow sword was too fast, bringing with it an air current, and this time it directly knocked down the elder Feng family. He fell to the ground and didn't regain his senses for a long time. The dragon sparrow sword had completely disappeared from his sight. The first elder of the Feng family raised his head blankly. He looked at the empty scabbard in his hand, and everyone was stupid. He traveled thousands of miles to the Qinjun League. In addition to wanting to admire the sword that traversed Emperor Yin's entire life, he also planned to copy its appearance and wait for it after returning to Feng's house. He finally borrowed it and it's not 5 minutes, so it's gone. What's even more unacceptable to the elders of the Feng family is that the dragon sparrow sword ran by himself. If Qinjunmen came to question him, and he told the truth, wouldn't Qinjunmen think he was sick? The first elder of the Feng family shook his head and finally regained his senses. He immediately chased after the sound of his sword rubbing against the air. Xiao Wenjian was saying goodbye to Yu Xian at the back door. Mr. Yu's guards haven't come yet, wait for him to come before you leave, otherwise I really can't take it easy, why don't he? It was at this moment that there was a crackling sound in the air. Boom. The speed was so fast that a series of sparks were set off, which almost shattered the eardrums. Xiao Wenjian's feet were unstable, and his buttocks landed on the ground with a smack. He raised his head suddenly, and saw the dragon sparrow sword flying straight towards Yu Xian. His pupils shrank suddenly, and he lost his voice. "Mr. Yu, be careful." Xiao Wenjian didn't have time to think about how the dragon sparrow sword suddenly flew out, but this sword shaved iron like mud, blowing hair and sharp edges. There are only dead souls under the sword, not the living. If this is. However, the bloody scene did not happen. The dragon sparrow sword actually stopped 10 inches away from Yu Xian, and slowly fell, flush with the position of his right hand. Yu Xian's eyes were dark, his fingers were already clenched into fists, but the dragon sparrow sword did not leave, it was still trembling. Xiao Wenjian's brain has fallen into a deadlock. He stared blankly at the dragon sparrow sword, and inexplicably read a sense of grievance from this cold weapon. The first elder of the Feng family finally chased after him, and also saw this scene. His eyes widened suddenly, his brain seemed to be severely shaken by something, and his mind was instantly blank. The dragon sparrow sword has a spirit. Seeing the dragon sparrow sword is like seeing the Emperor Yin. This sword has been by Emperor Yin's side for nearly 20 years, and the sword's blade has been stained with the blood of countless enemies. The dragon sparrow sword has only one master, and that is Emperor Yin. Only he can command the dragon sparrow sword. Emperor Yin was actually the posthumous title given to him by later generations after the young emperor died. The word Yin itself has a great meaning, representing the inheritance of descendants. Although Emperor Yin had no successor, he created a prosperous world in the Great Xia dynasty, and brought the land of the 5 states back to life and blessed him for all ages. The elders of the Feng family stared blankly ahead. The man was sitting in a wheelchair, wearing a dark gray suit, buttoned meticulously to the first one. It is obviously a very modern dress, but it reminds people of how powerful the Great Xia dynasty, which came to congratulate from all over the world, 1,500 years ago, in a world of great competition. Even if the first elder of the Feng family knelt down with a thump, and he opened his mouth, "Your Majesty." Xiao Wenjian finally recovered from his shock, and he also knelt down. Yu Xian was silent for a moment, and seemed to sigh helplessly before saying lightly, "Get up." At the same time, he held the dragon sparrow sword. The sword stopped shaking. Ninth brother, Wei Feng San's words stopped abruptly when he saw Xiao Wenjian and the first elder of the Feng family kneeling on the ground. He wondered at a loss if Yu Xian had forced the leader of the Qinjun alliance to kneel. Then I thought that this is generally Sci-fi style. But they have no grudge against the Qinjun League. Wait outside. Yu Xian turned the wheelchair and said in a low voice, "Come here." The first elder of the Feng family and Xiao Wenjian woke up like a dream, and immediately followed Yu Xian into the Qinjun League. Feng San stood there, stunned. It took a few minutes for him to regain his senses. With trembling fingers, he dialed Sci-Fi's phone and stammered, "Si, Miss Si, Brother Ju seems to have a conflict with the Qinjun Alliance. In the Thousand Army Alliance. After coming to modern times, Yu Xian has only entered the Qinjun League once. But this was originally the former headquarters of the Qinjun League. The layout was the same as in ancient times. Even the architectural drawings were drawn by him, and he was naturally familiar with it. The two followed Yu Xian to the treasury where the dragon sparrow sword was stored, and watched him put the dragon sparrow sword back in place. But as soon as he left Yu Xian's hand, the dragon sparrow sword trembled again, looking very unwilling. "Be obedient." Yu Xian stroked the body of the sword and said lightly, "There is no battle for you to fight, be quiet. Okay, I will come to see you, and run out if you don't see me in the future, you know." The rattling finally stopped completely. The first elder of the Feng family slapped himself violently, and after a few seconds, slapped him again. He didn't keep his hand, fanned himself into a pig's head, and finally confirmed that he was not dreaming. As soon as the clothes were lifted, the first elder of the Feng family saluted again, his voice still trembling, Chen, see your Majesty. Things are incredible. For the elders of the Feng family, Emperor Yin was a figure in the history books, a distant existence. The four major alliances of the three major families have the habit of worshipping Emperor Yin. He grew up listening to Emperor Yin's name since he was a child. If one day someone told him that Emperor Yin was in front of him, he would definitely fan this person out. But the facts are in front of you. Make them have to believe. The dragon sparrow sword recognizes the master, and Uzian is the Emperor Yin. There is no His Majesty now. Uzian's tone was cold. You don't need to call it that. Get up, don't let me say it a third time. The first elder of the Feng family tumbled to the ground and stood up straight. He had a lot of questions, but the pressure on Uzian was so overwhelming that he couldn't say a word. Take it as if nothing happened today. Uzian closed her eyes. Do you understand? Hearing this, the shocked elder Feng family's expression became serious. This matter is no trivial matter, rest assured, Your Majesty, I will be tight-lipped. If some people knew that Emperor Yin was still alive, the consequences would be disastrous. This is something that cannot be answered by the yin-yang and five-element theory. Xiao Wenjian said tentatively, His Majesty is still there, but you never thought of calling us. Uzian looked at the dragon sparrow sword in her hand and sighed softly, I really didn't think of it. Second time. How can people who have been emperors not be careful? He changed his handwriting and changed a lot of behaviors, but there was a sparse one in the end. The resonance between the dragon sparrow sword and him cannot be changed. The last time he came to Qinjunmen, he avoided the location of the treasure house, and this time it was the same. The only thing I didn't expect was that the dragon sparrow sword was not in the treasure house today, but was brought to the martial arts room by the elders of the Feng family. Uzian glanced at the elder Feng's family lightly. With just this look, the elder Feng family broke out in cold sweat, and his legs went soft. Your Majesty, I really didn't mean it. It's okay, it has nothing to do with you. Uzian shook his head slightly. It was my negligence. The first elder of the Feng family had a bitter face and just wanted to chop off his own hand. I still have something to do, you can do it yourself. Uzian nodded lightly, and turned the wheelchair out of the treasure house, leaving the elders of the Feng family and Xiao Wenjian to look at each other. In the end, the first elder of the Feng family broke the silence. Wenjian, are you also thinking that our ancestors are really amazing? To be able to do things under His Majesty's hands for so long, I would have been unable to bear the pressure and fainted long ago. Already? No, Xiao Wenjian wiped his sweat and said tremblingly, I just think Miss Si is really too so humming awesome. It is simply the second idol in his life. He used to be able to be an elder and take care of Si fucking, but now he just wants to kneel down. Xiao Wenjian no longer knew how to face Si fucking. The first elder of the Feng family was confused and said, Miss Si. Xiao Wenjian gave him a brief narration. The elder Feng family took a deep breath. Amazing, awesome. In the previous life, Emperor Yin had no wife and no concubines, and the confidant in this life was a person, which made him have mixed feelings, but more of it was sad. For the emperor, I have lost too much. Elder, let me invite you to eat out. Xiao Wen remonstrated, let's have a good chat. With the big secret in their hearts, they can only divert their attention. The elder Feng family nodded, go. The two just went out when they met Mrs. Feng, who came with Feng Ziyi. Elder Madame Feng said respectfully, Zhao Yi was on vacation recently, so he came together. The younger generation of the Feng family, Feng Ziyi is the most outstanding one, and the elders of the Feng family certainly have an impression of her. It's just that he just saw Emperor Yin, his excitement couldn't be suppressed, and he didn't have much time to pay attention to Feng Ziyi, but after nodding, he hurriedly left with Xiao Wenjian. Feng Ziyi has never been so neglected before. Her eyes darkened, her fingers clenched, and she said lightly, Mom, I won't go in to worship Emperor Yin, I'm going to Bizhu. Why are you going to Bizhu all of a sudden? Madame Feng frowned. There just happened an explosion there, What should I do if I encounter danger again? Feng Ziyi shook his head and just said, there is something very important. Mrs. Fen knew that she was very assertive, so she did not force her. Okay, you can go, remember to contact the Feng family if you have anything, the Feng family will always be your backing. Feng Ziyi nodded and called a taxi to the airport. On the other side, the Yin family. Xia University is about to start school, and Nian Yin also took advantage of the few days of vacation to return to Yin's house with Sci-fi. In the Yin family mansion, the evolutionaries are fighting in the arena. After seeing Sci-fi and Nian Yin, they all stopped. After a few young people glanced at each other, one of them stepped forward and said with a smile, Nian Yin, how about a fight? Uncle Yao Nian is an S level, and you have to be a B level no matter how bad you are. Oh, no, your mother is an ordinary person, you may just be a D level, ha 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 ha, why is it so low? There was laughter all around. Sci narrowed her eyes slightly. She suddenly smiled and patted Nian Yin on the shoulder, Yin, what are you hiding? Since they want to see your strength so much, show them. Nian Yin looked at Sci in surprise, then nodded, put down the skull bag, and took a few steps forward. This move was unexpected by the young people, and they all came to see it. Not far away, Yin Yongzi also stopped the movements in his hands and stared at the ring. She also wanted to know what strength Nian Yin had. Off topic. See you tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 546. Tong Luyun's popularity was not high enough to crash the Weibo system. However, all the black materials are gathered together, and the bombing effect is extremely strong. The programmer on vacation scolded Tong Luyun while making emergency repairs. After the refresh, the top 10 most popular searches on the entertainment list were all named by Tong Luyun. Every article is a piece of black information, with no repetition at all. Netizens just feel like they are in a field of melons, not knowing which one to eat first. Good guy, this black material can die dongling high black. Thank you to all the reporters in the entertainment industry for not releasing these things before I took the postgraduate entrance examination, otherwise I would have no intention of taking the exam. Let's count how many celebrities have fallen since Sci started doing business seriously. As expected, he is the disciplinary committee member, and he is sure to catch everyone. Shivering, am I the only one who thinks Tong Luyun offends such a supercomputer expert? Is this something humans do? After the value of business fashion collapsed, Tong Luyun was extremely panicked. So after she concluded that Sci could not still be alive, she immediately took a series of measures to seek medical treatment for emergencies. Even though she knew she was doing something stupid, she had no better way. Tong Luyun thought that even if she could not return to the altar, Sci-Fucking's fate would be worse than hers, and she felt balanced in her heart. Until now, as she watched her trending on one hot search after another, there was no anger left, only endless fear. Who did this? Tong Luyun couldn't believe it, she murmured, impossible, this is impossible. None of this dirty information is false, even the old things she did 10 years ago were revealed. But the entertainment industry is a big dying vat. Who can escape from the mire and not get dyed? Tong Luyun didn't think that what she did was a big deal, but now that it all came out, it was a fatal blow to her. The hot search couldn't be removed at all. The matter was so big that even Tong Luyun's sponsor couldn't sit still. The financial owner quickly took a series of actions and severed the relationship with Tong Luyun. Mr. Mo, Tong Luyun begged him on the phone with trembling fingers, Mr. Mo, you must have a way. Please help me remove the hot search. The memory of netizens is very short. I have been silent for a while. I can still do it next year. Shut up. You still think this is just a matter in the entertainment industry? Mr. Mo laughed angrily. Do you know that this matter has attracted the attention of major families at home and abroad? They are all trying to block you, to make friends with SI fucking. Do you think you still have room to continue in the entertainment industry? Have you forgotten that SI fucking is not only a star, but also the #1 in the international entrance examination? Is it of extremely high value? Mr. Mo only thought that Tong Lu Yun was ridiculously stupid. If SI fucking was just a star, of course there would be many ways to reconcile this matter, but she was not. Tong Lu Yun's mind buzzed, and her ears went deaf for a moment, as if there were 10,000 bees circling, and she couldn't hear any sound clearly. Major families at home and abroad are rushing to ban her, just to please SI fucking? Get lost. I have nothing to do with you. Mr. Mo hung up the phone and gave Tong Lu Yun no more chance to speak. Tong Lu Yun collapsed on the ground, a thin layer of cold sweat broke out on her back. Even Mr. Mo gave up on her, and now she was completely finished. Tong Lu Yun looked at the blocked social media account, and she still hadn't figured out who was standing behind SI fucking, who could reveal all the dirty information about her at the snap of a finger. Not to mention other dirty stuff, just tax evasion is enough for Tong Lu Yun to completely disappear from the entertainment industry. It can only be said that the internet was not developed when Tong Lu Yun became famous, which allowed her to hide until now. To be honest, Tong Lu Yun's drama is very good and her acting skills are good, but her character is too bad and she was blocked well. In the early years, Tong Lu Yun's works were really spiritual. After Sang Yanking retired, she started to decline unexpectedly. She even bit Sang Yanking back. She was really a white-eyed wolf. The earth will continue to rotate without anyone. Tong Lu Yun disappeared instantly after looking back at the Grand Slam movie. Netizens just sighed for a while and turned to worship Koi under SI fucking Swibo. During the rare holiday, SI fucking was lying in the yard outside the hospital, rubbing Xiaobai's belly with one hand, and murmured, "Dog Pixiu, tell me about you. I have fed you gold for a year, at least you. I also ate dozens of tons, so why don't you do it a little bit?" Xiaobai licked her palm aggrievedly and wagged his tail. SI fucking sighed, "Fortunately we have a big benefactor, otherwise we would all have to drink the northwest wind." Xiaobai's eyes lit up and he suddenly screamed. "You still want to go directly into the gold mine to eat it?" SI fucking slapped it on the head. "Don't even think about it, you rebellious girl." Xiaobai snorted, turned over and lazily basked in the sun. It has already made a decision in its heart. If the big benefactor wants to take the dog owner home, the way to get through this is to give it an endless gold mine. Wonderful. Miss SI, Feng San rushed over. "Miss SI, people from the Intercontinental Research Institute are here to see you." Huh? SI fucking narrowed his eyes and stood up. "Hello, Miss SI." A middle-aged man wearing a white research uniform stepped forward and said apologetically, "I am a member of the board of directors of the Intercontinental Research Institute, responsible for the B-level staff. This time I surprised you, too. We were not considerate enough and did not arrange manpower to protect you, and we apologize to you." "Hello, you're welcome." SI fucking nodded slightly. "You don't have to blame yourself for this matter. Ling's people found me in time and I was not injured. Except for the old dean of the Institute of Mechanical Engineering, she can be said to have complete distrust of the Intercontinental Research Institute, so naturally she will not take the initiative to disclose any information." The middle-aged man nodded with a serious expression. "That's right. The Intercontinental Research Institute will send a team to protect Miss C's safety. We also ask Miss SI to inform us of the permanent location so that we can deploy manpower." "No need." SI fucking still refused. "Zero and T18 have arranged people to protect me. I trust them." The middle-aged man also knew the strength of Zero and T18, and he was a little regretful. "Okay, since Miss SI insists on this, we will not force Miss SI, but we still hope that Miss SI can come directly to the Intercontinental Research Institute, which is the most safe place. SI fucking smiled but said nothing. At the peak of her strength, the laboratory was tampered with. Safety. That is to deceive uninformed people. The struggle in the Intercontinental Academy is no less than that in the Eternal Academy. At best, there are only rough fights between the evolved people, but the Institute is constantly using dirty tricks. SI fucking had no intention of going back. The middle-aged man talked endlessly about the power of the Intercontinental Research Institute. Seeing that SI fucking was still unmoved, he had no choice but to leave. He looked at the girl lying on the grass and shook his head. Ranking first in the international joint examination but not cherishing the opportunity he got, he will only be a B-level person in this life. This explosion involves a revenge organization and is not something that the branch investigators can handle. And because of improper handling of the matter, Feng Ziyi was temporarily suspended from work. She had an extra vacation, but she was not in a good mood. Mrs. Feng was very happy and specially invited the state banquet chef from Siju City to replenish Feng Ziyi's body. Feng Ziyi pursed her lower lip. "Mom, forget about the marriage with the Yu family." Mrs. Feng was a little surprised, but she was more pleased. "You finally figured it out. The other party obviously doesn't care about you, otherwise it would be impossible to let you go." Feng Ziyi said nothing. She had only seen photos of Yu Ziyan, and she really liked that face. She had never had any feelings for the opposite sex, and the men on the same team were not as strong as her. It wasn't until that man appeared that Feng Ziyi knew what it meant to be powerful, and her heart moved uncontrollably. What made Feng Ziyi a little upset was that the man seemed to have something in his heart. She rubbed the cup with her fingers and her eyes moved slightly. "Since you said so, I will tell the Yu family now." Mrs. Feng took out her mobile phone and contacted Mr. Yu. Mr. Yu was caught off guard by the Feng family's cancellation of the engagement. He could not attack the Feng family and could only transfer all his anger to Yu Ziyan. After using the 7th number, Mr. Yu finally dialed Yu Ziyan's phone. "Where have you been? Do you know that Miss Ziyi chose to cancel the marriage without seeing you? Where can I find someone for you? Is Miss Ziyi a good person?" At the end of the sentence, Mr. Yu became more and more angry. "Did you hear that? You are a cripple and can't move your legs. If the Yu family hadn't raised you, you dash." "Mr. Yu, right," a voice suddenly sounded over there, but it was a female voice. "You don't need to worry about it. Brother Ninth has a good health and a good personality. There are many people rushing to get him. He makes the decision on his marriage. Even if he is really down and out, I can still support him, and you don't need your Yu family. When he still treats you like a human being, you should act a little more respectable and stop causing him trouble, understand?" The output made Mr. Yu stunned. SI fucking didn't give him a chance to refute, hung up the phone and blocked him in one go. "Why did you answer such a call? You are not allowed to answer it in the future." She frowned. "You still listen to this long and derogatory speech?" Yu Ziyan was not angry, but raised his eyebrows. "Angry? Of course you are angry." SI fucking looked at him. "Aren't you angry?" Yu Ziyan closed her eyes. "Well, I'm very happy." SI fucking, "If you have a broken brain, please tell me honestly and I can cure it." Yu Ziyan raised his eyes and propped up his elbows. "Can anything be cured?" "Of course." SI fucking snapped his fingers. "If I can't cure it, I will take you to my master." Yu Ziyan lowered her eyelashes and chuckled. "You can cure it?" His eyes were steady and strong, with a slight smile. SI fucking was unconsciously beguiled by his gaze and met his eyes. Thump, thump, thump. The heartbeat was faster than ever at this moment. Another day of His Majesty's tricks square root. Thank you all for your support to Ching Ching. See you tomorrow. I discovered a serious problem when I was editing the manuscript for Ying Huang. I suddenly discovered that the pitfalls of the star shopping website were not filled in. I was a little sad. From the name, I can tell that it is related to Sage Seeing Seeing. She opened it, but it seems that there is no what a big impact. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 547. She looked up at him, and time seemed to travel back thousands of years at this moment. He bent down slightly, his eyes were level with hers, and asked in a low voice, "What's wrong?" He was closer to her at this moment, and she could even count his eyelashes. A big man with thick and long eyelashes. Si fucking stared at him and her voice broke for the first time, "Nine, brother Nine, my heart is beating so fast." Uzian didn't expect her to be so straightforward and hit him straight. He was silent for a moment, then what? Si fucking stood up abruptly, "I'm going to see how the rest of the crew are doing, and then I'll go to the cardiopulmonary department." Xiaobai watched helplessly as his master disappeared as quickly as possible. It licked its paws with a faint look in its eyes. If the ghost hand heavenly doctor goes to the cardiopulmonary department, he will be laughed at for a year. Uzian sighed. Sure enough, her psychological defense was extremely strong. Huo Yangxing walked out from behind the rockery and said calmly, "It seems your progress isn't that good either." Uzian closed her eyes, "Well, not as good as you, your body is progressing very quickly." Huo Yangxing. He gritted his teeth and said, "Can you please stop mentioning this matter?" He was the one who was slept with. Uzian said in a cool tone, "Emotional progress is negative." Huo Yangxing had no expression on his face, turned around and left the hospital. Tsukimi came in with 2 cups of milk tea. Huo Yangxing frowned. He was thinking of ways to ask Yu Jian for a cup of afternoon tea, but before he even opened his mouth, he was overtaken by the other party. "Sir, are you interested in joining T18? Yu Jian put a cup of milk tea into his hand. "T18 employees have good benefits. We have paid vacations and the pressure is not as great. Sir, you are so powerful that you can change jobs. I promise. Recommend you to the chief to become the 4th giant." Huo Yangxing, "We can consider it. The goals of T18 and Zero are no different. They are both responsible for dealing with emergencies around the world. He only had a sinecure in Zero, it was the same everywhere." "Then please think about it carefully." Yu Jian clasped his hands together, "Please, this is a rare request from me." Huo Yangxing's voice surpassed his thoughts, "Okay." He agreed so quickly that Yu Jian was surprised, but she didn't waste any time and directly took out a contract. "Sir, sign it." Huo Yangxing signed. Tsukimi folded the document with a smile, "Thank you, sir. Her mission has been completed, it's up to her junior sister." Yu Jian brought up another cup of milk tea and went to find Si fucking. Looking at Yu Jian, who didn't say another word to him, Huo Yangxing said. He gritted his teeth. He must have been bewitched by his mind to agree to what this scumbag said. When Yu Jian found Si fucking was squatting in front of a tree, shrinking into a small ball. Yu Jian was a little confused. "Xiaju, what are you doing?" Si fucking shrank even tighter, and after more than 10 seconds, she said quietly, "Third senior sister, I may not be worthy of being an intelligence worker." "Oh," Yu Jian was very interested, "how do you say it?" Si fucking said in a muffled voice, "I was tempted by the mission goal. I don't have enough concentration." Yu Jian raised his eyebrows, "What's the point? Your big sponsor is also a rare beauty in the world. You can control her for so long, which has surprised me, senior sister." Si fucking thought for a while and asked humbly, "If I only care about his face, wouldn't I be as bad as you?" Tsukimi. For the first time, she had nothing to say. "Stop pretending to be a guinea pig." Yu Jian pulled Si fucking up, "Perhaps you were trying to flatter someone else in the process of flattering him? You can try it first, and then run away if it doesn't work." Sci-fi was silent for a moment and praised sincerely, "Third senior sister, you are worthy of being a senior sea king." She wanted to ask third senior sister for more advice. "I have already brought Huo Yangxing to our T18." Yu Jian crossed his arms, "Little junior sister, you rely on you to win over your sponsor." "Miss Si, not far away," Feng San shouted in this direction, "it's noon. Brother Ninth has ordered a meal. Come over and eat." Si then stood up, patted the weeds on his body, and went to the pavilion by the lake. She quietly glanced at the man sitting in the wheelchair. The sun fell on his face, half bright. His eyebrows were very beautiful, but his temperament outweighed his appearance. Feeling her gaze, Yu Zian turned around and looked at her. "Are you shy?" Si looked away. "No, you did it on purpose." "Sorry." Yu Zian smiled calmly. "Eat." Si pinched her chopsticks and began to think seriously about how she should try. Tang Tang applied to be an exchange student at the University of Itno. Yu Zian said, "As her guardian, I will go to Xia University to handle the procedures for her." He rubbed her head. "Wait until I come back, okay?" Si grabbed his hair that he had just rubbed and responded in a low voice, "Go ahead. I'll go back to the Yin family to see my uncle." Yu Zian glanced at Huo Yangxing. Huo Yangxing understood. He had nothing to do and originally planned to follow Yu Jian, so he would drop by the Yin family on the way. As for joining T18, he didn't think it was a big deal, and he didn't plan to tell Yu Zian. 49 cities. Mrs. Feng was choosing clothes for Feng Ziyi, but Feng Ziyi was absent-minded and kept looking at her phone. She frowned as if she was waiting for something. "Ziyi, what's wrong with you these past 2 days?" Mrs. Feng scolded, "You're so distracted. Isn't it normal for your mission to be preempted by zero? It has nothing to do with you. You should take a good vacation and rest before you go back to take up the mission." "Mom, what do you think?" Feng Ziyi tapped a photo with his finger. "How do I compare with her?" Mrs. Feng looked at the photo in confusion. "Who is this? A top-notch woman is also a great oracle." Feng Ziyi pursed her lower lip. This year she ranked first in the National College Entrance Examination and also ranked first in the International Joint Examination. Mrs. Feng does not pay attention to the entertainment industry, but she also knows the value of the International Joint Examination. She was surprised. Are celebrities so powerful? Feng Ziyi became even more irritable. "Mom." Mrs. Feng said hurriedly, "Of course you are stronger, Ziyi. You entered T18 at a young age and are extremely skilled. She is just a nerd and cannot compare to you." Feng Ziyi breathed out slowly. Good. Si was indeed excellent, but he had nothing in common with Zero's senior management. Unlike her who could go on missions, Si could only be rescued. If she can bring Zero's top management into T18, the superiors will treat her differently. As long as they weren't married, she had a chance. Feng Ziyi made up his mind. "Hello," Mrs. Feng answered the phone. "The Great Elder is here? In the Thousand Army Alliance." "Okay, Ziyi and I are also here. We will definitely go to see the Great Elder after he finishes his work." After the call ended, Mrs. Feng said, "Ziyi, I'm going to the Qinjun League in a while. Remember to go to the Ancestral Hall to worship His Majesty Emperor Yin. I'm going to buy some things." Feng Ziyi didn't have any special feelings about this, he just responded lightly. She indeed admired Emperor Yin, but the figures in history were different from the ones in front of her. She admires Chiang, and in her opinion, only that man is worthy of her pursuit. There was a knock on the door at this moment. Feng Ziyi opened the door. "It's Mr. Yu." Mr. Yu still wanted to get married to the Feng family. He came to the door in person and apologized repeatedly. "Miss Ziyi, I'm really sorry. Shi Yan is not sensible. Don't worry, next time, this marriage." Feng Ziyi looked at him and said calmly, It's not because he let me go, it's because I have someone I like more and I no longer like him. These words were spoken without any room for error, and Mr. Yu suddenly froze. Miss Ziyi. Feng Ziyi didn't want to say another word and closed the door directly. Mr. Yu was angry and anxious. Just when he didn't know what to do, he received news from the secret guard. The news said that Yu Ziyan returned to Siju City, arrived at the private villa, took some things and left again, and is now at the gate of Xia Gate. Mr. Yu didn't have time to think too much and headed to Xiaodo without stopping. He didn't have to look carefully to see the man in the wheelchair at a glance. Yu Xian, Mr. Yu strode forward, you come with me to apologize to Miss Ziyi now. His voice was loud, and people around him looked over, some surprised, some confused. Yu Ziyan did not raise his head, but said, Feng San. Feng San immediately stepped forward and grabbed Mr. Yu's shoulders, without even having a chance to let him get close to Yu Ziyan. His movements were also very fast, so fast that even the secret guards brought by Mr. Yu did not react at all. Mr. Yu took a breath. You. Mr. Yu, at this moment, a voice said in surprise, Mr. Yu is actually in Siju City. Mr. Yu helped Kinjao last time. I haven't thanked Mr. Yu properly yet. Yu Ziyan turned around and saw Xiao Wenjian. Leader Xiao, you're welcome. It's just noon, and the Qinjun Alliance has prepared lunch. Xiao Wenjian said, Mr. Yu, if you don't mind, let's come together. Yu Ziyan smiled slightly. It is better to obey orders than to be respectful. From the beginning to the end, Xiao Wenjian didn't notice that Mr. Yu was there, and he happily welcomed Yu Ziyan away. Mr. Yu stood there, unable to react at all. The Yu family is also the most wealthy family in 49 City. Unlike other families, he has at least met Xiao Wenjian himself and knows that Xiao Wenjian is the leader of the Thousand Army Alliance. But how come Xiao Wenjian and Yu Ziyan? Mr. Yu was confused in his thoughts when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his body. It was Feng San who let go of his hand. He snorted coldly, get out of here. What? This way. Yu Ziyan followed Xiao Wenjian to the Thousand Army Alliance, but he just made an excuse to escape and had no real intention to go in. I won't go in if I have something else to do. Okay, Xiao Wenjian nodded and did not force it. If Mr. Yu has any difficulties, just raise it with the Qinjun Alliance. Yu Ziyan nodded slightly and was about to leave. At this time, in the martial arts training room, the elder of the Feng family was checking the dragon bird sword, but suddenly, the dragon bird sword sealed in the scabbard shook. Buzz buzz. Very violent. The eldest elder of the Feng family was also a martial arts practitioner, but his feet stumbled at this moment, and the dragon bird sword bounced away. What's the situation? Whoosh. The dragon bird sword came out of its sheath and flew straight in one direction. His Majesty, who has always been so thoughtful and cautious that he even changed his handwriting, was exposed for the second time by his own sword. Smiley face. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 548. Boom. The dragon bird sword rushed out too fast and brought up air currents. This time it directly knocked down the elder of the Feng family. He fell to the ground and did not recover for a long time. The dragon bird sword had completely disappeared from his sight. The eldest elder of the Feng family raised his head blankly. He looked at the empty scabbard in his hand, and everyone was dumbfounded. He came all the way to the Thousand Army Alliance. In addition to wanting to pay homage to the sword that spanned Emperor Yin's entire life, he also planned to copy its appearance and hang it on the wall when he returned to the Feng family. He finally borrowed it, but it hadn't even been 5 minutes, and it was gone like this. What is even more unacceptable to the elder of the Feng family is that the dragon bird sword escaped by himself. If the Thousand Army Alliance came to question him and he told the truth, wouldn't the Thousand Army Alliance think he was sick? The eldest elder of the Feng family shook his head and finally regained consciousness. He immediately chased after the sound of the sword rubbing the air. Xiao Wenjian was saying goodbye to Yu Xian at the back door. Mr. Yu's guard hasn't arrived yet. Please wait until he arrives before leaving. Otherwise, I really can't let go. How about dash? It was at this moment that there was an explosion sound in the air. Bang bang. The speed was so fast that a series of sparks were set off, almost bursting the eardrums. Xiao Wenjian's feet were unsteady and he landed on his butt with a snap. He raised his head suddenly and saw the dragon bird sword flying straight towards Yu Xian. His pupils shrank suddenly and he lost his voice. Mr. Yu, be careful. Xiao Wenjian didn't have time to think about how the dragon bird sword suddenly flew out, but this sword cut iron like mud and had a razor-sharp edge. There are only dead souls under the sword, no living people. What if? However, the bloody scene did not happen. The dragon bird sword actually stopped 10 inches away from Yu Xian and slowly fell to the same level as his right hand. Yu Xian's eyes were dark, and his fingers had clenched into fists, but the dragon bird sword did not leave, it was still trembling. Xiao Wenjian's brain was in a state of panic. He stared blankly at the dragon bird sword, inexplicably reading a feeling of grievance from this cold weapon. The eldest elder of the Feng family finally chased out and saw the scene as well. His eyes widened suddenly, and his brain seemed to be severely shaken by something, and his mind went blank for an instant. The dragon bird sword has a spirit. Seeing the dragon bird sword is like seeing Emperor Yin. This sword has been with Emperor Yin for nearly 20 years, and the sword has been stained with the blood of countless enemies during battles with him. There is only one owner of the dragon bird sword, and that is Emperor Yin. Only he can command the dragon bird sword. Emperor Yin was actually the posthumous title given to the young emperor by his descendants after his death. The word Yin itself has a great meaning, representing the inheritance of descendants. Although Emperor Yin had no heirs, he created the prosperous age of Great Xia, brought the 5 states back to life, and protected them for all generations. The eldest elder of the Feng family stared blankly ahead. The man was sitting in a wheelchair, wearing a dark gray suit, fastened to the first button meticulously. It is obviously a very modern dress, but it reminds people of the distant 1,500 years ago, that time of great strife, and how powerful the Great Xia dynasty was when congratulations came from all directions. The eldest elder of the Feng family knelt down with a plop and opened his mouth. Your Majesty. Xiao Wenjian finally recovered from the shock, and he also knelt down. Yu Xian was silent for a moment, seemed to sigh helplessly, and then said lightly, "Get up." At the same time, he held the dragon bird sword. Only then did the sword stop vibrating. Brother Ninth, Feng San's words stopped abruptly when he saw Xiao Wenjian and the eldest elder of the Feng family kneeling on the ground. He wondered blankly if Yu Xian had forced the leader of the Thousand Army Alliance to kneel down. Then I thought that this was generally Sci-fi style. But they have no grudge against the Thousand Army Alliance. Wait outside. Yu Xian turned his wheelchair and said in a calm voice, "Come here." The eldest elder of the Feng family and Xiao Wenjian woke up from their dreams and immediately followed Yu Xian into the Thousand Army Alliance. Feng San stood there, confused. After a few minutes, he came back to his senses. With trembling fingers, he dialed Sci-Fi's phone number and stammered, "Si, Miss Si, Ninth brother seems to have had a conflict with the Thousand Army Alliance." Within the Thousand Army Alliance. After coming to modern times, Yu Xian only entered the Thousand Army Alliance once. But this was originally the headquarters of the Thousand Army Alliance, and the layout had not changed much from the ancient times. Even the architectural drawings were drawn by him, so he was naturally familiar with it. The two followed Yu Xian to the treasure house where the dragon bird sword was stored, and watched him put the dragon bird sword away again. But as soon as it left Yu Xian's hand, the dragon bird sword began to tremble again, looking very unwilling to do so. Be obedient. Yu Xian stroked the sword and said calmly, "There is no battle for you to fight. Just be quiet. Okay, I will come to see you. Don't run out when you see me in the future. Do you understand? The roar finally stopped completely. The eldest elder of the Feng family slapped himself hard, and then slapped him again a few seconds later. He didn't hold back and slapped himself into a pig's head, finally confirming that he was not dreaming. Lifting up his clothes, the eldest elder of the Feng family saluted again, his voice still trembling, "My lord, your majesty, my lord." It's incredible. To the elder of the Feng family, Emperor Yin was a figure in the history books, an existence that was far away. The three major families and the four major alliances all have the habit of worshipping Emperor Yin. He has grown up hearing Emperor Yin's name since he was a child. If one day someone tells him that Emperor Yin himself is in front of him, he will definitely slap that person out. But the facts are before our eyes. Make them believe it. The dragon bird sword recognizes its owner, and Yuzian is Emperor Yin. "There is no your majesty now," Yuzian said in a cool tone, "you don't have to call me that. Get up and don't let me say it a third time." The eldest elder of the Feng family scrambled to his feet and stood up straight. He had many questions, but the pressure on Yuzian was too great and he couldn't say a word. "Just pretend nothing happened today." Yuzian closed his eyes. "Do you understand?" After hearing this, the shocked elder of the Feng family became serious. "This matter is not trivial. Don't worry, your majesty, we will definitely keep it secret. If some people knew that Emperor Yin was still alive, the consequences would be disastrous. This is something that the yin-yang and five elements theories cannot answer." Xiao Wenjian spoke tentatively, "Your majesty is still here, but he never thought of summoning us." Yuzian looked at the dragon bird sword in his hand and sighed softly, "I really didn't expect it. The second time. How can someone who has been an emperor not be careful?" He changed his handwriting and changed many ways of behavior, but there was always something missing. The resonance between the dragon bird sword and him cannot be changed. The last time he came to the Thousand Army Alliance, he avoided the location of the treasure house, and it was the same this time. The only thing I didn't expect was that the dragon bird sword was not in the treasure house today, but was brought to the martial arts training room by the Feng family elder. Yuzian glanced at the eldest elder of the Feng family lightly. Just at this glance, the eldest elder of the Feng family broke out in a cold sweat, and his legs went weak. Your majesty, I really didn't mean it." "It doesn't matter, it has nothing to do with you." Yuzian shook his head slightly, "It was my negligence." The eldest elder of the Feng family had a grimace on his face and just wanted to chop off his own hand. "I still have something to do, you can do it yourself." Yuzian nodded lightly and turned the wheelchair out of the treasure house. The eldest elder of the Feng family and Xiao Wenjian were left looking at each other. Finally, the eldest elder of the Feng family broke the silence. "Wenjian, are you also thinking that our ancestors are really amazing? They can work under His Majesty for so long. If it were me, I would not be able to bear the pressure and would faint." "No," Xiao Wenjian wiped his sweat and said tremblingly, I just think, Miss Si is really, too. So humming awesome. It is simply the second idol in his life. He used to be an elder and take care of Si fucking, but now he just wants to kneel down." Xiao Wenjian no longer knew how to face Si fucking. The eldest elder of the Feng family asked in confusion, "Miss Si?" Xiao Wenjian briefly told him. The eldest elder of the Feng family took a breath. Awesome. In his previous life, Emperor Yin had no wife or concubines, but in this life his confidant was alone, which made him have mixed feelings, but even more sad. "As an emperor, I have lost too much. First elder, let me invite you to go out to eat." Xiao Wenjian regained his composure, "We must have a good chat." The big secret was kept in their hearts, so they could only divert their attention. The eldest elder of the Feng family nodded, "Let's go." As soon as the two went out, they met Mrs. Feng, who came with Feng Ziyi. Great Elder, Mrs. Feng said respectfully, Ziyi is on vacation recently, so we came together. Among the younger generation of the Feng family, Feng Ziyi is the most outstanding one. Of course the elder of the Feng family has an impression of her. But he had just met Emperor Yin, so he couldn't suppress his excitement, and he didn't have much time to pay attention to Feng Ziyi. He just nodded and left in a hurry with Xiao Wenjian. Feng Ziyi had never been so neglected. Her eyes darkened, she clasped her fingers and said lightly, Mom, I won't go in to pay homage to Emperor Yin. I'm going to Bizhu. Why are you suddenly going to Bizhu? Mrs. Feng frowned, there just happened an explosion there. What should I do if I encounter danger again? Feng Ziyi shook his head and just said, there is something very important. Mrs. Feng knew that she was very independent, so she did not force her. Okay, you go ahead. If you have anything to do, remember to contact the Feng family. The Feng family will always support you. Feng Ziyi nodded and called a taxi to the airport. On the other side, the Yin family. Xia University is about to start school, and Nian Yin also took advantage of the few days of vacation to go back to the Yin family with Sci-fucking. In the Yin family's mansion, the evolvers were competing in the ring. After seeing Sci-fucking and Nian Yin, they all stopped in unison. After several young men looked at each other, one of them stepped forward and said with a smile, Nian Yin, how about a fight? Uncle Yeonian is an S level, no matter how bad you are, you must be a B level, right? Oh, no, your mother is an ordinary person, and you might just be a D level, ha 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 ha, why are you so low? There was laughter all around. Can a D level be an evolver? None of our guards have such a low level. He may think it's great that he's good at shooting. We don't need such backward weapons at all. Sci-fucking narrowed his eyes slightly. Nian Yin, I didn't expect you to hide for a month. The young man looked sarcastic, just keep hiding. Hide. Hearing this, Sci-fucking suddenly smiled and patted Nian Yin on the shoulder. Yes, Yin, why are you hiding? Since they want to fight you so much, then show them how you are now. Come with your strength. See you tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 549. The entire school grounds fell silent. Sci-fucking's reaction and actions were unexpected by everyone. This is a battle between evolvers and evolvers. The fight is about blood and evolver abilities. No matter how good your spear skills are, it is useless. Bullets may be able to hurt low-level evolvers, but evolvers above level B can easily dodge bullet attacks, unless they are heavy thermal weapons such as laser cannons. Such weapons are banned in the world of evolution. Okay, you have the guts. The young man was stunned and nodded, then go ahead, don't regret it. He took the lead towards the center of the school field. At Sci-fucking signal, Nian Yin also followed. This fight attracted everyone on the school grounds, and they all gathered around. Yin Yongzi noticed the behavior on the school field and frowned. What are they doing? The guard hurriedly said, Miss, Master Yin is back and they are competing. Competition, Yin Yongzi thought for a moment, let's go over and have a look. As soon as Yin Yongzi arrived, the others automatically made room for her. She stared intently at the two people standing in the middle, and wanted to know what Nian Yin's strength was. The young man stood there with a proud attitude, my evolver ability is to master the elements. I can dash. Bang. Before he finished speaking, he felt a huge pressure pressing down on him, like an overwhelming force, directly pressing him to the ground. The eyes of the others widened instantly, and they did not see how Nian Yin took action. Yin Yongzi's expression also changed. Nianyan looked at the young man kneeling on the ground strangely. Get up, it's not the new year yet, so you don't have to kneel down for me. As if he thought of something crucial, he became vigilant. There is absolutely no way I will give you a red envelope. Si fucking smiled. Has she led someone astray again? Just when the boys and girls were still confused, the second elder, who was silently watching the battle in the distance, suddenly jumped up. Bloodline suppression. He remembered that this young man, although not particularly outstanding, was still A level. What can suppress Class A? The second elder's hand shook and he rushed forward quickly. Nian just released his own evolutionary energy. He really didn't expect that he didn't even have to use his ability. The opponent could no longer hold his head up. Is bloodline suppression so easy to use? Nian felt a little relieved. At home, he was the one being beaten, and he was finally able to suppress others for once. Nian restrained his breath, and the young man felt that the terrifying pressure dissipated. He stared. You. Nian snorted and said with a smile, I know, you can't do it. He clapped his hands and was about to leave under the fixed gazes of everyone, when suddenly a voice sounded. I'll do it. A tall and straight young man stepped forward, his eyes burning. I'll fight you. Nian turned around and had no impression of this young man. Among the people who mocked him before, the young man was not among them. Wang Chen. Brother Wang Chen. Yin Wang Chen is also a genius of the younger generation of the Yin family, and his bloodline is transcendent, a grade second only to Yin Yongzi. But he is a combat-type evolver and has extremely strong close combat capabilities. Nian's expression became more solemn. Okay. Yin Wang Chen nodded slightly. Please. Only then did the second elder react. Everyone, step back. A-level evolvers may not be able to bear the energy spilled from the battle between these two people. Yin Yongzi locked his eyes tightly on Nian's figure and frowned. She thought that Nian was only D-level at best, so how could he even fight against Yin Wang Chen? Boom. Bang bang. In 1 minute, Nian and Yin Wang Chen fought several times. Nian's movements were so fast that Yin Wang Chen could hardly catch his figure. Boom. With the last blow, Nian knocked Yin Wang Chen to the ground. There was dead silence. Yin Wang Chen is a combat-type transcendent, a grade evolver, but he didn't get any advantage from Nian and was even beaten. Is Nian's evolver level also transcendent a level? Quick! Get the level testing instrument. The second elder jumped 3 feet high and urged the guard, move quickly. The guard hurriedly went to get the instrument. The second elder's eyes were kind. Come on, kid, put one hand on it. You haven't tested your evolution level yet, have you? Nian shook his head. No. He really hasn't tested it before using the machine. It's just that both Si fucking and Yujian said that he was a transcendent, a grade evolver. He is still thinking that he is so weak. Why is his blood level so high? But Si fucking could never be wrong. Nian pressed his hand on it. On the detection screen, the energy bar began a new round of beating. It jumped directly from D to A without any pause. Finally, it jumped again on the subtitle A and became A+. Super A grade. Even though everyone had guessed before that Nian's evolution level would definitely not be lower than Yin Wangchen's, their guess was far less impactful than seeing it with their own eyes. Yin Yongzi's last hope was shattered at this moment. Her fingers trembled, unable to steady the turbulent waves in her heart. How could Yin Yaonian and an ordinary person be combined to give birth to a transcendent A grade? Are you kidding me? Super A level, the second elder danced with his hands and feet, hugged Nian, and said excitedly, you are Super A level. The Yin family has been inherited for such a long time and is a large family of evolvers. Naturally, the blood purity of each generation will not be lower, nor worse than the other two families. But there is an extreme lack of fighting evolvers. Although Yin Yongzi is S level and has unique evolver abilities, her abilities currently have nothing to do with combat. She can make a person's cells quietly start to become cancerous and then die, but this does not work for advanced evolutionaries. The elders know that her abilities can evolve in the future, but time waits for no one. If the Yin family had no fighting evolvers, then it would not be far to withdraw from the three major families. Therefore, when they learned that Yin Yeonian was still alive, the Yin family agreed to his return. The second elder's gaze became intense. What is your evolver ability? Nian Yin said nothing and looked at Si. Si narrowed his eyes slightly and said calmly, run faster. She omitted the fact that Nian Yin still had a pair of wings. These wings greatly increased Nian Yin's attack power, but he was also extremely fast when the wings were retracted. Speed, the second elder's gaze became even more intense. How fast can you reach now? Is it possible to exceed the speed of sound? There are many evolvers who control speed, but the gap is huge. As far as the second elder knows, the strongest among these evolvers is in the Eternal Academy of Free Continent. He is so fast that he can change the flow of time. He is codenamed Lightning. And having such a fast speed means that his physical strength must be very high, otherwise his body will be torn apart by the airflow while running at full strength. With defense, attack, and escape fully developed, he is a proper hexagonal warrior. Nian Yin was a little surprised. Is it enough to exceed the speed of sound? The requirements are so low. He thought so at the time, but Tsukimi said that the speed of sound was just the beginning. Nian Yin is a little sad. He is indeed the weakest one in their family. Of course it was Yin Yongzi who spoke this time. She smiled slightly. Brother Yin, maybe no one has given you relevant knowledge before. You control the speed. This ability can evolve. In the future one day you can even reach 3,000 kilometers per hour. Just imagine this speed. How many things can you do in 1 second that others can't do? After Yin Yongzi finished speaking, she glanced at Si lightly. With such a powerful evolver ability, Si said he could run faster? A waste of natural resources. Nian Yin didn't have any expression. He had already listened to Si and Yu Jian taking turns to popularize this knowledge. Oh my god, what a speed! The second elder jumped up again. Son, wait a minute, I'll go report to the ancestors right now. The Yin family has produced a transcendent grade evolver who can control speed. This is definitely a big event that will cause a stir in the family. This also means that Nian Yin's status will jump to the same level as Yin Yongzi and Yin Wangchen, and he will be fully cultivated by the Yin family. The second elder couldn't wait to run away. As soon as he left, the crowd suddenly became restless. He actually is transcendent grade. The great elder made a mistake. Tisk tisk. Many people looked at Nian Yin with heated eyes, and they all walked towards him and started to have a relationship with him. Let's go. Si kicked the stones under his feet. I'm hungry. Nian Yin immediately said, Sister Ching Ching, wait for me. Yin Yongzi looked at the two people's retreating figures, her expression a little gloomy. In the courtyard. After finishing the meal, Si threw a few letters over. Put these away. The letters of recommendation from Eternal College will be available to you soon. I asked for a few more to prevent you from losing them. Nian Yin's forehead twitched. Sister, can you stop squeezing me like this? If you don't squeeze, who will you squeeze? Si raised his eyebrows. I'm still counting on you to become the fastest person. Come on, I've already said hello to Xia University. As long as you can complete all the credits, it doesn't matter whether you go to class or not. Nian Yin. His sister was really a role taker, and he was forced to roll with her. I'm going to the Evolutionary Alliance to do something. Si stood up and threw a few more talisman papers to him. When you come back in the evening, you can stay here. Well. Nian Yin nodded. Okay, sister, be careful when you go out. She left. Yin Yongzi put down the teacup after listening to the guard's report. Okay, Let's go there. The strength displayed by Nianyan completely exceeded her expectations. If she had known that he was transcendent a grade, she would have taken a series of measures to win people's hearts when he returned to the Yin family. It's a little late now, but it's not too late. In the room, Nianyan has already obtained the college textbooks and previewed them in advance. Master Yin the butler knocked on the door. "Miss, I have something to come to see you for." Nianyan looked at Yin Yongzi coldly. "What's the matter?" His reaction was within Yin Yongzi's expectation. But Yin Yongzi was not angry. Instead, he smiled and said, "Brother Yin, I'm here to apologize to you." Nianyan was unmoved and still looked at the textbook. "I can recommend you to enter the Eternal Academy," Yin Yongzi said. "Only by entering the Eternal Academy can your abilities be developed to the greatest extent. If you are lucky enough, Senior Lightning will accept you as his disciple. You know him, right? He is recognized as the fastest man. As long as he wants to leave, no one can stop him." She believed that Nianyan would not refuse such a good thing. Eternal Academy is the learning palace that evolvers yearn for. It is to the world of evolutionists what the Intercontinental Institute is to academia. The Eternal Academy only accepts evolvers of A level and above, but if no one recommends it, it will be too difficult to get in with your own ability. Nianyan raised his head. "Recommendation letter?" "Yes," Yin Yongzi said lightly, "I can apply for a recommendation letter and I can give it to you. I only have one request. I hope you stay well in the Yin family. The Yin family will not treat you badly. You are a transcendent a grade evolutionary. There is no need to go to Xia University like ordinary people. I also know that you listen to your sister, but her vision is too narrow. Xia University will not be of any help to you. Eternal College is yours. Stage. In addition, I can also apply for a 4-star Eternal account for you. You can get more resources in the Eternal Continent, which your sister cannot give you." Yin Yaonian had just returned and he still had no real power in his hands. It is even less likely that Sci-fi will come into contact with Eternal College. Yin Yongzi took a sip of tea and waited for Nianyan's reply. "Recommendation letter," Nianyan suddenly understood. "Is this what you are talking about?" He rummaged in his bag for a while and took out 3 envelopes. "Good morning. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god." Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 550. He said why it sounded so familiar, and it turned out to be something his sister had randomly thrown to him just now. After returning to the Yin family, Nianyan had indeed been hearing from people around him how powerful the Eternal Academy was, but Sci-fi easily gave him 3 letters of recommendation, which made him feel that the Eternal Academy was nothing more than that. Feel. It was just a letter of recommendation. He thought he was something great and even Yin Yongzi told him about it. Yin Yongzi's movements paused. She looked at the 3 letters on the table, and her flexible brain fell into a rigid state for the first time. Eternal College has started school this year, and she is a new student. Of course, she will recognize the school badge of Eternal College. It is exactly the same as the holographic game Eternal. After all, the entire academy is closely related to the Eternal Continent, and the students' assessment content is all conducted in Eternal. The first dean of Eternity Academy was one of the creators of Eternity. The school badge and seal on the envelope were exactly the same as what Yin Yongzi had seen. But how is this possible? 1 letter is already very rare, but Nianyan actually has 3 letters in his hand? Doesn't this prove that 3 people in the inner court recommended him to enter the Eternal Academy? Yin Yongzi couldn't believe it at all. She frowned and reached out to open one of the letters, but Nianyan easily pinched her wrist, preventing her from making any progress. "This is my thing, I just want to give you a look." Nianyan's eyes were cold. "What do you want to do?" This sentence made Yin Yongzi wake up, and she pursed her lower lip. "I'm sorry." But her eyes still did not leave the envelope, and she smiled faintly. Brother Yin, you may not know that many people have pretended to be senior brothers and sisters from the inner courtyard of Eternal Academy in recent years. I just want to see your recommendations. Whether the letter is fake or not, you are a member of the Yin family, so you cannot be deceived. No need. Nian Yin smiled coldly. What does it have to do with you even if it's fake? Can't you see that I don't want to care about you? Also, don't call me brother. I only have one sister. Put away your charlatanism and use your pure and kind appearance to deceive other people. It's still useful. It doesn't even apply to me. Get out. Without waiting for Yin Yongzi's reaction, Nian Yin stood up and sent her and the chief guard she had brought out. The door is closed. Nian Yin put away the recommendation letter and sent a message to Sci-fi. Then he moved his shoulders and went to the ping-pong table in the yard. Being fast is sometimes too boring, so he can only play table tennis with himself. Outside the door. It took Yin Yongzi a long time to come to his senses, and he could hardly restrain his anger. As she grows up, she has always been admired, respected, and pampered, but no one has ever dared to treat her like this. A thank you and a good year are all related to Sci-fi. Yin Yongzi twitched the corners of her lips, sarcastically. Sci-fi's method of winning people's hearts is really clever. What's the benefit of offending her? From now on, if I get injured, I won't have anywhere to go to see a doctor. Yin Yongzi stroked the dust on his clothes and said lukewarmly, let's go. The captain of the guard nodded and was about to leave when he suddenly stopped, knelt down on one knee and saluted, I have seen the Supreme Elder. Yin Yongzi raised his head and saw Yin Pingshen walking in this direction, and smiled again, Supreme Elder, I. Before she finished speaking, Yin Pingshen had already bypassed her and hurriedly went to find Nian Yin. For the first time, he completely ignored her. Yin Yongzi stood there, a layer of cold sweat breaking out on her back. She clenched her fingers and dug her nails into her palms. What she worried about most happened. Nian Yin showed off his transcendent grade strength, and it didn't take long for him to distract the Yin family's attention. Will he still get it in the future? Yin Yongzi took a deep breath, turned around and left with a cold face. On the other side, in a private bar, Sci-fi mixed a glass of wine and handed it to Odelia. I was just wondering why you asked me to write a letter of recommendation. It turns out it's because of your brother. Odelia raised her eyebrows. You don't go to Eternal College, but you send your brother to it. You are really good. Elder sister. Having been pulled into this chaotic world, he must learn some skills to save his life. Sci-fi lowered his eyelashes and murmured, I can't protect everyone. Odelia fell silent. Eternal College is an extremely dangerous place, and even she would find some assessment tasks difficult. But only by facing risks head-on can she seize opportunities. She has walked between life and death several times before she has higher strength. The time she was injured the most, she almost didn't wake up from the game cabin. It was Sci-fi who pulled her out of the dangerous place and healed her injuries. Odelia stroked the cup with her hand, and finally asked what she had been confused about for a long time, why did you save me in the first place? Ah, Sci-fi said sincerely, because you are about to die. A heavenly doctor with ghostly hands, who only saves people when they are about to die. Odelia paused and looked at her with a half-smile. Sci-fi responded promptly and consoled her, oh, it's also because you are good-looking. Not many people are treated like this. Odelia shrugged, Sci-fi, you are such a strange person. Completely unpredictable. The phone vibrated and a message came in. Chris, where are you? Out on a mission. Odelia, I'm thinking how pitiful you are. Not only are you blind but also lovelorn. How can you have such a miserable young leader? Otherwise, come down and let me sit in this position. Chris : Odelia blocked him, and then drank coke with Sci-fi. The next day. Yin family. Many people come to visit Yin Yongzi every day, but most of them cannot see her. Today Yin Yongzi refused everyone's visit. The captain of the guard came out and said to a handsome man very apologetically, "Master 11, the eldest lady is busy now and has no time to see you." 11 Fangchi asked, "What's wrong with Yun 11? Is he in a bad mood?" The head guard hesitated and recounted what happened to the Yin family in the past 2 days. It is not a secret that the Yin family welcomes back Yin Yeonian, so many people are staring at the Yin family. But Sci-Fi and Nian Yian have no sense of existence. Until yesterday, Nian Yian showed a higher combat power than Yin Wangchen and controlled the speed, which attracted great attention from the Yin family, and naturally ignored Yin Yongzi. Yin Yongzi failed to win over Nian Yian, but was ridiculed. He still has a heart attack to this day. The captain of the guard exaggerated and even added fuel to the fire. 11 Fangchi frowned and his tone became cold. "You are so ignorant. Yin Yongzi is the only evolver with the ability to heal, so why would anyone choose to stand against her?" 11 Fangchi couldn't understand this behavior at all. He has liked Yin Yongzi since he was a child, but he also clearly knows the gap between him and Yin Yongzi. He is only A level, while Yin Yongzi is S level. But for 11 Fangchi, it was enough to do something he could for Yin Yongzi. "Tell Yun 11 that she doesn't need to worry about this little thing." 11 Fangchi had a plan in mind. "I'll help her clean up." "Where is this Sci-Fi?" The head guard hesitated and said, "She didn't come back yesterday. She seems to have been in bar number 2 in the east of the city." "Bar?" 11 Fangchi frowned even more tightly. "Don't learn well." He got the accurate information and turned around to leave. The captain of the guard did not stop him and let him go. Sci-Fi was indeed still in bar number 2, just drinking coke. She was waiting for Odelia to send her information about the Evolutionary Alliance laboratory. Boom! The bar door was kicked open. The only bartender was startled and cowered in the bar. Sci-Fi narrowed his eyes and raised his head. "Sci-Fi, right?" 11 Fangchi looked at the girl condescendingly. "I'm here to tell you that no one will stop you when you return to the Yin family. You'd better recognize your own identity and don't think about following her." "What is Yongzi fighting for?" Sci-Fi bit the tab of the can and took a sip of coke. Her movements were unhurried and her expression was calm. She even smiled. "What, are you warning me?" "This time I'm warning you." 11 Fangchi sneered. "Next time it will be more than just a warning." Sci-Fi's evolution level was too low, so he didn't bother to take action against her. After all, Sci-Fi is also a member of the Yin family. If this matter comes to the tribunal of the Evolutionary Alliance, it will bring trouble to Yin Yongzi. Sci-Fi nodded and asked, "Are you alone?" 11 Fangchi looked contemptuous. "What? You still want Yun 11 to come in person? This matter has nothing to do with Yun 11. I can tell you that Yun 11 will have countless people working for her with a wave of his hand. You can't compare to it. Yin Yongzi has saved many people and has a wide network of contacts. What can Sci-Fi do?" In 11 Fangchi's opinion, Sci-Fi should honestly let Nian Yian follow Yin Yongzi, so as to enhance the strength of the Yin family. "I'm alone. It seems there's no one left." Sci-Fi finished the coke, raised his hand and threw the can into the trash can with great accuracy. The next second, she moved. Boom! 11 Fangchi only felt a huge force controlling him and slamming him into the wall. Crack! The wall cracked. "Who gave you the courage to warn me?" Sci-Fi smiled cruelly. "Huh? How dare you come to my little A-level guy all by yourself? See you tomorrow."